The beginning of a life together. From this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poor, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. Until death do us part. How many of us seriously think about that? The possibility that our spouse will die, especially during the early years of marriage.
Death was the furthest thing from my mind when we were first married. I guess I thought that I was going to die first. I always felt that. So here I am.
After 7.5 years of marriage, Joanne Dahlberg is a widow. She and her 2 children were forced to confront the reality of death when her husband was killed in an automobile accident on April 2nd, 1977. And Tom Prosapio and his 2 children were faced with the loss of a wife and mother when Donna died of Hodgkin's disease in January of 1977.
She taught me quite a bit about just general living life and loving, I think, was probably the most important thing. Lack of selfishness in her, which grew on me after a while. Loving other people, the way she reflected with other people, I think has really become a part of me now. So she had quite an influence on me that way.
Confronted by these untimely deaths, both the Prosapio family and the Dahlberg family have been living with their feelings of grief. For the pain of grief is as natural to life as the joy of love. Perhaps it is the price of love, the cost of commitment. And grieving, with its feelings of denial, sadness, and even anger, is a necessary experience after the death of a loved one. Family members need to share those feelings of sadness in order to begin again to share those feelings of joy. I'm Harry Porterfield, and when Channel 2, The People, continues, we will learn how both of these families have shaped from their tragedies new and fulfilling lives. Joanne and Jim Dahlberg were married in July of 1969. They began a family, had 2 children, but their life together ended when on April 2nd, 1977, Jim, age 36, was killed in an automobile accident. Joanne learned of the tragedy when a chaplain and 2 family members appeared at her door.
And my brother-in-law just said, there's been an accident. And I said, just tell me that he's all right and he'll be okay. And he said, I'm sorry, Joe. And that was it.
Did you feel a sense of shock at that moment?
Absolute shock. I was scared to death. This couldn't happen to me. I couldn't go on without him. I needed him here. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Mrs. Dahlberg, will you share with us some of the emotions you experienced while going through this grief process? Things that entered your mind, the thoughts you had?
Anger, that I was left alone, you know. I mean, not blaming him, but... And then I felt sorry for him that he's missing this part of his life. He was young and had so much going for him, and he loved the kids and me, and we were his whole life. I do miss him, you know, just the physical presence of having him here. You know, even if we didn't talk, we'd sit at night, maybe he'd be reading the paper and I'd be watching TV, but he was in the room. And I don't like that feeling of just me being here. Evenings when the kids are in bed, you know, I can't get interested in TV or anything. I'll maybe lay on the couch and read a book, pace the floor like a nervous racehorse here. But the phone, there's always the phone, and I have lots of friends, so I can call people. I can call any one of a number of people when I feel low, and I do. In the first few months, I had invitations from friends to stay overnight, to come for dinner. to you name it, and we took him up on everything. We were gone every day until finally the kids even said, can we please stay home? You know, we're tired of running. But that got us through the first month, and we really were taking one day at a time, which is exactly how it had to be done. It's one day at a time. It's very difficult going through his personal belongings and weeding things out, but I think that's something that has to be done. I felt guilty about that, too, at first. Felt like I was trying to wipe him out of my life too soon, trying to wipe out all the memories, but that wasn't it at all. Because what I have here is in my kids, that's Jim, and my photo albums and my movies, and what's in my heart. That's him, not in his clothes.
Joanne's feelings of loneliness, anger, and helplessness are natural for someone struggling to accept a loss. And children like Jimmy and Ellen can experience these feelings as well. Chaplain Lee Jostin of Lutheran General Hospital.
I think it's extremely important that when a family member dies, that it become a family experience. And one of the chief means to accomplish that is for families to talk about this experience with each other and the accompanying feelings that go along with it. And usually after the talking, you know, tears may begin to form. And talking becomes a means whereby the feelings also can be expressed. And that's all part of it. And they need to be able to, children need to be able to know this, that mommies and daddies cry, that they have those sad feelings, that they may even feel fearful feelings. Because somehow or other that gives them permission to feel the same way. And they don't have to feel that they're being bad children if they feel sad or if they feel afraid.
And I think that's why my kids are as healthy as they are. I mean, emotionally healthy through all of this. I've had no problems with them, with myself for that matter. You have to do that. You can't say, don't cry, we have to be strong. We did cry because we felt rotten. We cried a lot. But we talked about him. We talked about him a lot. And we cried and we laugh about him. They've called him Guy Smiley. That's Daddy's name. And, I mean, it's pleasant memories. And we talk and laugh and together. And I think as a result, we are all together up here.
Part of acceptance in grief, I feel, is coming to the point of being able to say this reality may neither be changed nor explained. I may never understand totally, but I still will live with it because I have to. There are some things that I have to live with without understanding or having them changed.
He loved this house and he took care of the house. And when that responsibility at that point dropped on my shoulders, it was just, you've got to be kidding. How can I possibly take care of this big place and the kids and the finances and just everything? It just hit me like a ton of bricks. There it was.
No matter how overwhelmed Joanne felt, she realized that she would have to assume those responsibilities if she and her children were going to make it. Even simple tasks needed to be learned, things that Jim once did, like building a fire.
And then finally, one cool night, I said, well, Joanne, just do it. Get your notes out. And I started that fire. And I had a beautiful roaring fire going here. And I jumped up and down like a little kid when I got it going. And I said, see, Jim, that's for you. I could do it. I could do it.
It becomes a significant stimulus for growth, where they're challenged to use qualities, gifts, abilities that they were never called upon before to utilize. And now they begin to do that.
I think we're going to be all right. We're going to make it. I think we've gone through the worst part of it. Several months ago, it was really 2 steps up and 3 steps back. It felt like I just couldn't get ahead at all. Now I feel like I'm really on top of it and doing as good as I can at this point.
And although the pain is not gone, they are beginning to share the joy of living again and see possibilities for the future.
At first, my thought was to start a new life with the kids and go to new places that we would choose and just start off new. And then I thought we had a lot of spots we used to go as a family that were very pleasant experiences, so why not just keep that up? The kids loved the places, and so did I. There was one spot we had gone for lunch shortly after Jim was killed. I was nervous about going. I was afraid to face it, and I just said, come on, cut it out, and I brought myself around and got through it, and just one obstacle after another that we were able to overcome together, and now we're back at these places all the time and enjoy it.
Then Cookie raced up the beach with the stick in his mouth. Oh, that Cookie cried, the people on the beach is the sand flew into their beach towels.
Very good, Alan. The first couple of months, honestly, everybody said, be glad you have the kids and they're going to help you through this. Well, at that point, it didn't seem that way, because I used to get mad and scream at them that I couldn't even sit down for 5 minutes and feel sorry for myself, because the kids were constantly into things and at me. But in the last few months is when I'm really enjoying them, really able to sit and play with them and enjoy them. But I've never tried to be both mother and father to the kids, because one woman, a good friend of mine, told me right after this happened that it would be the biggest mistake you can make, because you can't be their father. All you can be is their mother, and you be the best doggone mother you can be. And that's what I'm doing. I can't be their father.
I think the shock begins the moment that you either lose them or you know they're going to die.
And my initial reaction, while my wife was still quite alive, was panic, complete and total panic.
And all of a sudden, after everything was over with, I think that's when the panic struck. There was no mechanical way of doing things. There was no procedure to follow. And you realize then, my gosh, this is it. This is really, what it's all about.
There are places where widows and widowers can share their feelings and gain support. The 7 Illinois chapters of THEOS, a national self-help foundation, hold small monthly group meetings to provide this opportunity.
And now it's all been dropped in my lap, and pick it up and do with it the best you can, and that's what we're doing.
Joanne Dahlberg joined a THEOS group just 3 weeks after the death of her husband.
And when somebody says, I really understand, they understand because they've been there, is all it was. Just a place where I could go and somebody would know what I was feeling.
But now the adjustment to being a single parent and also to my children who are not really small anymore is difficult right now at this stage.
I've often felt that my wife would have been far better equipped to handle a family than I would.
It's kind of interesting that we build our own internal guarantees. We write our own contracts, and when things don't work out, we wonder, what in the world happened?
This THEOS group leader is Chaplain Lee Jostin of Lutheran General Hospital.
The main reason why THEOS works is because it does take seriously the fact that widowed people can be helpful resources to each other. There's something about the experience of grief that makes it so very personal, that it's very hard for any person, I think, to really understand. And I think more than anything else, somebody who is in grief needs somebody to understand what they're going through. But initially, it just takes a lot of patience and understanding. And I think those who are most able to give that are people who have been through that experience.
And I just feel that I live every day as if it's my last day. Just live it and enjoy it, and don't worry. Don't look for approval or disapproval. Just enjoy it and live it.
I think everybody's willing to give everyone advice. And advice comes very, very easily. And I know I got many people telling me what to do after my husband passed away. I think you really have to sort out your own feelings and make your own decisions.
As some of the group members relate their own experiences, others discover that there is a common bond. Their feelings aren't unusual. They are not alone.
And when I came to THEOS and I heard other people talking, they said they had anger periods too, or the feeling of anger towards their mate.
It was something that really helped, being able to talk about it and, share your feelings and hear the way that everybody else had gone through it too.
And perhaps the greatest reward is the opportunity to see how others are coping, and that there are possibilities for the future.
When I look around this room and I see some of my very good dear friends right now who I didn't know a year ago. And it's really sort of been, unique feeling to know that you're not alone.
It's extremely important that they see that their lives are not now a dead end, and that there still is a future, even though at the time it seems like all future is lost and life really is a dead end or a black room out of which there is no exit.
After suffering with Hodgkin's disease for 2 years, Donna Prosopio died in January of 1977. She was 33 years old and had been married to Tom Prosopio for the last 12 years. They had 2 children, Jeff and Angie.
It is a very sad situation when you think about it. A very young couple, which we were, had a lot to live for. We're working for quite a bit as a team or a companionship. Every moment that we had together was working on that companionship to make it grow, to make it flourish. And to just have all that come to a stop is just, it's just very hard to swallow. It's very, very, very hard to say, well, that's over, and I've got to start anew. On the other hand, what do? You sit there and brood about it and wallow in self-pity? Well, you can't do that. You just can't do that. You can't do that for yourself, and if you have other responsibilities, like my 2 children, you've got to move forward. You've got a life to live and enjoy it. You know, there's a lot there to enjoy. If you treat the past with love, then I think that you can really build spirit to move forward, you know, and really get a sense of enjoyment for living.
Tom believes that his children are coping with the death of their mother as well as they are because they were prepared for it. Throughout Donna's extended illness, he explained what was happening in ways they could understand.
Well, I think it's important to prepare the kids because basically they're a part of the family. They're very much a part of their mother. They should be informed as to what's happening with her.
And when her death became inevitable, he prepared Angie and Jeff for it. Knowing what was going to happen lessened the shock, but there was still profound sorrow. And the Prosopios have worked together as a family to deal with their grief.
The hardest part of accepting when my mom died was when my father came home and told me that we'd never see her again. But after a while, you will adjust to it. It's just, when you do feel sad, just let it out and you'll get over it. Unless, you know, you let it upset you for a long time.
But yet I know that the feelings do have to be shared, and so we do that. You know, it's usually a spontaneous thing, and it's I usually deal with that as it comes, and then pass on. I don't try and belabor it at all.
If you feel sad all your life, you won't lead that good of a life, and you know, like you shouldn't feel sad all your life.
Since they were following this example that I was showing, we were able to just move together and enjoy life, and then remember her in the spirit that we knew her.
Although it has been less than a year since Donna died, Tom has accomplished a great deal to bring his family back together. They're beginning to experience the joys of life once more.
We are well on our way. We aren't done yet. I mean, there's a lot of learning for the kids to do yet, a lot of learning for me to do yet, as far as how this family should work. I think we're all progressing well. We do things together well. We have a lot of fun together.
Besides rebuilding family spirit, Tom has had functional changes to deal with, like domestic chores.
I found it a bit frustrating at first, but then when I found I had 2 little helpers that could really do things, it was just a matter of doling out the work, getting the responsibility dispersed. I think any good manager has to do that.